WP, another soldier in power armor sprinted past, his gait unnaturally mechanical. Then he turned around. His visor was cracked wide open, his face but a gaping, bloody crater. The suits on board AI was in control, moving and responding to orders while cradling the corpse of its late operator. The men screamed as they saw the humanoid thing run at them, carrying only a pistol and a sword. They thought that it was possessed when in reality, the AI was completing the task given to it. Dave, the AI controlling the mechanical suit, looks back at the voice command to confirm a final time the command. The audio was rough and soft, but the last words of Sergeant Mitch Slade rang out clear to the AI once again. Bring my body back to the motherland and make sure Sarah can see me a final time. The AI internally sighs, but he couldn't deny the last command of Mitch. They had fought together this whole war. The least he could do was respect his last wishes. Dave slashed through dozens of semi-armored soldiers and shot even more, using the sensors that Mitch couldn't have mastered even with his many hours in the suit to make sure every cut and bullet fired ended an enemy life. Days later, the mechanical armor, covered in blood of enemies, and steps on the long abandoned porch. Dave laughs softly as he has the armor to knock on the half-rotted door before kneeling. He was about to run out of power. He decides to do a final favor for his master, putting on the untitled song that he always put on when he needed comfort. Hey, maybe this was a good way to go. Sorry that I wasn't able to save you. Hello. First time replying to one of these. I hope I did well. I also took a bit of a creative liberty and had Dave follow the last command of the user instead of the commands from the higher ups, as I thought that could be more emotional. Part 1. The door was torn open with the wretched shriek of tearing metal. Solid adamantite 2 inches thick was bent and ripped asunder. Devon had only ever seen such destruction from explosives, or from the cybernetic construction bots charged with recycling decommissioned vessels. No being of flesh and blood could have broke through those doors with sheer strength. Nothing human could have done that. But what came through was not human. Devon had only heard stories of them. The monstrous Catalogus, twice as tall as a man, obscenely packed with dense muscle, faster, stronger, exponentially more brutal than any human could ever be. Then pushed further, cybernetic enhancements layered into genetic manipulations, creating a hybrid of man and machine. Near invincible, impervious to most weapons bearable by man. They had been bred for wars beyond mortal comprehension. For campaigns spanning millennia. The sheer presence of one caused men to freeze, flee, or soil themselves in terror. The human mind refused to believe something that size, so fast, so brutal, could ever bear human form. They caused a primordial terror, a soul-deep fear that echoed back to the time when mankind hid in caves and worshipped thunder. Now one stood in the ruined doorway, one of those that had been kept in stasis deep within the ship's hold, in transit to the Zrikata War. The creature bore the livery of the XXX Legion, of the army once kept concealed within the confines of the Himalayan mountains on Earth. Something had woke it up, twisted its mind. It had tore its way through to the bridge, killing and maiming all in its way. The Catalogus were monsters, but loyal to a fault. They had been born to fight and die for humanity. That was their purpose. That is all they understood, and ever needed to understand. Something was wrong. Very, very wrong. As it stepped through the doorway, the 20-strong honor guard recoiled in horror. The monster's face, or what would have been the face, was a blood crater, visible past the cracked, ruined visor of its helmet. Something slithered in the crater, black and slick with blood. The rest of its armor was similarly sundered and split open. Inky black wisps leaching out across the grey surface. An eldritch crimson glow emanated from the rents in the beast's armor, seemingly produced by the black wisps. There was a wet crack, the sound of tearing flesh and breaking bone, as the Catalogus head split further open. The inky black morass buried in its skull drifted out from the yawning chasm, swirling and morphing with an ever-changing surface. The black cloud shifted into a face, a human face, with the soft, feminine features of an aristocratic woman. The face smiled at them, Not the gentle, warm smile of a mother, nor the doting smile of a lover. A cold, cruel smile of a victorious predator. Devon realized what was wrong the same instant the killing started. His men opened fire, dousing the creature as laser blasts and hard round slugs from their breacher guns. Being stationed on a ship drastically limited the options they had available, as stray rounds could damage the ship, potentially causing a hull breach in the right places. They did not have the firepower to contend with the Catalogis. 3 of his men died in the time it took Devon to blink. Oryx's body dropped as his head was torn off in a single punch. Caitlin was thrown across the chamber, slamming against the wall hard enough to pulp organs and shatter bones. Derek was thrown back into the doorway, impaled on a piece of the torn door. Devon and his men kept firing. 17 now. Another blink. The creature drove a hand through the carapace armor of Titan, punching through the bone beneath, ripping out his heart. Seben's head was caved in, driven down into his chest cavity. The creature's armor was an angry red, smoking from repeated close-range laser fire. It was not enough. Fal fired his shotgun. It was almost point blank, right in the monster's face. The Catalogis twisted to the side, avoiding the blast in the split second it took the gun to fire after Fal pulled the trigger. As it twisted, it drove a hand into Fal's side, ripping free his intestines. Fal collapsed, trying to gather his spilling guts, only to be thrown across the chamber, entrails following him as he impacted headfirst into the wall, crushing his head. Devon cried out in fury as he emptied his power pack into the creature. His men fired with him, their fury resonating with their weapons. It was not enough. 14 now. John lost an arm, torn free at the elbow. He collapsed. The creature swung the severed limb like a club, battering Cal to the side with a blow that shattered the arm and crushed his skull. It tossed the ruined limb to the side, and crushed John's head with an absent-minded step. Jericho pulled the pin on a grenade, leaping at the creature. It caught him with the ease a child would catch a ball, and in the same motion threw him back the way it had come. Jericho bounced with a wet crunch, before being consumed and fired by the incendiary grenade. 11 now. 11 guns blazing. 11 panicked shouts and cries. The creature was roiling in smoke, its armor dented by close-range hard round blasts and seared white hot by the volume of laser impacts. It did not slow. They could have had twice the men, twice the firepower, and it still would not have been enough. The smell of charred meat and blood filled the chamber, the blood gushing onto the creature boiling as it touched the hot surface of the armor. Mark was impaled, his own gun driven through his chest. Sarah was torn in half at the waist, blood and organs cascading from her sundered body. 9. Hiffen jumped, clutching the creature's back. He slammed an incendiary charge onto the thing's shoulder as it threw him free, crushing his head underfoot. The charge exploded, swallowing the beast in fire. Semi-sentient phosphoric gel slithering over its body, warring with the black wisps. It did not stop. It roared in fury, a shrill, metallic screeching laced with beneric cant. The fiery monster battered Elis to the side, the backhanded blow snapping his neck. 7. Devon heard a shout from the ruined door the creature had come from. A soldier stood, clutching a plasma caster. 8. Devon dropped to the ground as the trooper fired the weapon at the creature's back. Hot air washed over Devon as superheated matter torched the creature's back. It stumbled forward, before turning around to face its new foe. The plating coating the back of its armor melted into slag. The soldier fired a second shot, aimed at the thing's chest. A shield of liquid black shot out from the rents in the beast's armor, the nanite swarm absorbing the blast, shielding the creature. The Catalogis strode toward the trooper, slow, methodical. He fired again and again, the plasma caster whining as it was driven to overload. The nanite swarm absorbed every shot. Black, charred clouds of the machine dissipating into the air. The trooper threw the gun as warning lights blinked red, indicating an immediate and explosive overload. The swarm caught it, tossing it away. The weapon bounced on the ground, landing on the prone form of Felix. The weapon exploded as the monster ripped the limbs off of the unknown trooper, leaving his screaming, limbless torso on the ground. 6. Devon and the survivors got back to their feet. Still firing. The melted slag on the creature's back buckled and caved. The compromised metal giving way. Laser beams and slugs drove into the thing's back. It turned and came at them again, oblivious to the damage. The meat puppet inside was long since dead. The nanites in full control. It should not have been possible. The nanites injected into the Cataragus were not programmed with any kind of sentience. Slave to the will of the Cataragus itself. Serene did not care what was possible as the beast ripped her head off. Firen did not, either. As a massive, paw-like hand grabbed his face, crushing the faceplate of his helmet before pulling free, taking his face with it. Byton died next. His rifle speared through his head. 3. Devon backed against the door, slamming his last power cell into his rifle. Sybil was lifted overhead, an armored arm through her stomach. 2. Silic threw a grenade as the thing threw Sybil's corpse, the magnetic field locking it to the creature's chest. It detonated. The thing stumbled back, its chest plate cracked and smoking. Not dead. Not even close. The creature grabbed a rifle from the floor, throwing it at Cyclic. It caught him in the shoulder, pinning him to the door. Devon could only watch as the Cataragus tore open Cyclic's stomach, letting his entrails flood from his sundered gut. 1. Devon dropped his empty gun. He had a service pistol. It would not help. He had a grenade. It would not help. Death had come and he was powerless against it. The Cataragus faced him. Devon froze, staring into the crater where the face should have been. The black morass in the crater slithered out, wreathed in flames as the phosphoric gel tried in vain to consume the Cataragus. The face returned, smiling once again. Devon raised his hand, lifting a single finger in defiance of the monster. The smile only grew, growing to obscene, inhuman length. Then the face dissipated, separated into 3 tendrils of black, inky nanites. They shot forward, impaling Devon's eyes and mouth. Black consumed him. Captain Lowry stepped forward. This was it. Final step of the investigating tribunal before they made their decision. If it was not already made. Personal testimony. Captain, I'd like to hear in your own words your actions on the 7th of August following the death of L.T. Johnson. Yes sir, Colonel. I noted that Tyrone, L.T. Johnson had been killed in action but that the ally of his power armor was still function. Being senior, I transmitted my command code and rerouted operations and control. I had to soft foot infantry give the suit a pair of assault shields, one in each hand. I then guided it from behind as Lieutenants Neal and Martinez took up firing positions to each sides of the shields utilizing partial cover while 2 squads of regular foot infantry, soft foot, followed behind us sir. In this manner we assaulted straight through the heavy enemy fire, at times with me and my suit helping to keep Johnson's from being knocked over by some of the impacts stabilizing it from behind. By the time the opposition blew through the shields and took down Johnson's suit we were at trench B0H8. We pushed straight into the trench, Neal breaking left while Martinez went left, each followed by a squad of infantry. Using the 25mm Bushmaster cannon I laid down suppressing fire, rotating as able to support both groups, further opening a gap for our forces to proceed. Thank you Captain. Yes, a valiant effort that allowed advancement into the Shongvao defensive ring, but do you then admit to sacrificing an $8 million suit of power armor and desecrating the corpse of a junior officer under your command? If that's how you wish to take it sir, then yes. If that's how I wish to take it Captain, please. How would you label it? We always say sir, adapt and overcome. We also say if I fall make sure you live. Take from me what you need and if needed let my body be your shield. Sir. We are literally the shield for the light infantry. Yes, I caused the destruction of the suit and the mangling of Tyrone's body. I also allowed him, even in death, to protect and shield 3 brother operators and nearly a dozen squishies. With Tyrone's help we got those men out from under the lethal enemy fire and opened an avenue that carried the day and saved many more lives. So while I may have destroyed Christie, Tyrone's suit, leaving her laying dead with him mangled inside on the field, Tyrone and Christie saved many more, which is something any of us would be proud of. Anything else, sir? It seems weird to me how you crunchies name your suits. Do you know why he named it Christie? Yes, sir. After his wife. She died in the bombing of Nashville and he regretted not being able to be with her, so he kept her with him always, sir. This time they stayed together. Oh. Thank you. Anything else, sir? No. Thank you. Dismissed.